It's now time for Monster Soup with your really fun at parties host, Dave Spencer, and his level-headed co-host, Brian McKinney. These dudes will explore all the crazy mysteries roaming our forest and deserted hallways. After all, monsters are real. It's Monster Soup time right now. Get it while it's hot. Now your hosts, Dave and Brian.
Hello. Welcome to Monster Soup, a place for cryptids, fun stuff, and all that stuff. With me, as always, is my friend Brian, also known as the bipedal butt wraith, known as the bunghole Brian.
Welcome. Get it while it's hot.
Get it while it's hot, baby. Okay, so top of the show, I just want to let you guys know I do have a email. If you guys have fun little stories that you want to share, go to monstersoupodcast@gmail.com. If you want to share your stories and you also want to get on the show, that would be awesome. And then if you want to check out my cool art that I do, it's mischieffactory.com. Also, I have a Facebook page, which is also Monster Soup Podcast. Check that out. And so today's podcast is the Cryptid Cocktail Hour. And what we're going to be doing here, it's going to be just a chill little hangout. Some cocktails and
a little Friday afternoon soiree,
some weekend water, and everyone's favorite little kind of list. I want to start with two things. So today or last night, I literally fell down a rabbit hole, and it was this fun little story that happened on TikTok, and I thought it was so rad. Nothing to do with cryptids. It's just a silly thing. This lady, I guess it's paranormal. So she basically, her office had like stuff in it that was just moved around, and she was just like, what's going on? Like this has a place in my house, and this is a locked area of my house. Like no one goes in it. It's not like a place that people go in and like fuss around. Like the door's just shut. And so I would go in every day, and like stuff is just in different spots, and my computer screen is literally punched in. Like, so it's just cracked. And she's like, what is going on? And then her husband was he was building a fence, and he was doing the auger thing. And when he did that, he found a rug underneath it. And but it's like pretty far down. And they're like, what's going on with the rug? And so on TikTok, people were like, you got to dig it up. That's probably a body. And she's just like, like, you know, and then also the same day that they locked up the house was the same day that they that stuff started happening in her house, like all those things, and about the stuff moving around, or the lady who died next door. Sorry, I'm telling the story bad. The lady died next door, and then the day that they like kind of boarded up her house was the day that stuff started happening. And she was like, well, she can't haunt there, she might as well haunt my house, kind of thing, like joking around
next door.
Like, wouldn't it be funny if it was a body? And then like she was like, but everybody was in chat's like, you gotta find out. And she's like, I would literally have to dig up my whole yard if this happens. And so she brought cops in. Cops looked at it, and they're like, yeah, we can't really like put effort into like you finding a rug under your house. Like that's just like too much.
Yeah,
well, the TikTok exploded, and all of a sudden the cops were like, I think we gotta look at this. Like we can't just like have two guys show up and be like, oh, whatever.
You get all those crazy internet people like that documentary, the Don't F with Cats or whatever, and you go down to one thing, it turns into a whole other thing. These internet sleuths won't let that just sit. They're gonna want to know what's inside that rug.
Yes. And then so they came back, and then they did some investigation, and then they had the cadaver dogs come. And the cadaver dogs went over, two separate ones. They both sat on the spot, and she's just like, oh no. Like this turned into like a funny little like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if it was a body, to like, it's a body. And then but so they went through all this thing. I've literally been checking it every half hour today, just like, did they find a body? They excavated today. Unfortunately, ended up being a pile of like just like a bunch of rubber stuff. But at the same time, like, I don't know if you've ever heard, like, cadaver dogs are like pretty good at their job. Regardless. So something may have gone down, and it's like a moved body or something like that. But I remember hearing a story about this thing that happened like 30 years ago, and they were still able to like find it, even though there was like nothing left, and like a river had gone through it. They're just like, there was something right here, and the lady didn't want to like give her hopes up like in the moment, but then like later she was like, just like there was something there. Like cadaver dogs don't like really mess up that, like it's pretty rare. they're a tool for a reason, in this whole situation. So,
so
that had happened, and I was, but unfortunately, fortunately, it ended with nobody. But in the sicko dark part of my mind,
you wanted to know what happened. I saw this documentary one time, and they were talking about cadaver dogs, and I don't remember what the actual distance was, but it was like they could smell for like miles. That scent, and I was like, well, I could see if they're in the yard, they're nearby or whatever, but I was totally like, my mind was blown as the distance that it was, and I thought it was like a crazy amount of miles that they could smell this stuff from.
Are there people with Bigfoot dogs? Could that be a thing? Someone get on that.
You'd have to have the scent though. They'd have to.
I know, but like, I think people have hair samples, right? Maybe just like grab the mud that is like, I don't know. I always see Cliff when he comes like at Bigfoot Fest, he always shows us like footprints or whatever. Just scoop it up, put it in front of a dog, and be like, "Yo, yeah," and then he just like has the time. I'm just saying, like that sounds rad. Okay, so the other thing that happened, and I was really trying to like figure out the long and short of it, but there was some pretty, if it's real, big if true, Bigfoot footage that was just dropped on TMZ, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. I just realized I don't have headphones. But that was the coolest thing, just seeing him like lounging against the tree. Obviously, anybody can kind of, the thing that always kind of throws me off about Bigfoot footage is that it always looks kind of fake. Even the stuff that we really go like, that looks so real. I'm like, it still looks kind of, it looks like a dude in a suit. I don't know, man. It was really good. He's like leaning against the tree, the tree, and doing the whole thing. So I was just like, oh, this looks so cool.
Yeah, I read about it. I think it was yesterday, but I hadn't seen the video of it until earlier this afternoon, and I was waiting to see, and then I see it. My first instinct is, it looks like a guy in a suit. It looks like it's staged, but
I mean, even the article.
But I was sitting there like, man, I can't wait to take a look at this and see what it is. But it's sitting there like taking a nap, and it looks up.
Yeah, I mean, for those who haven't seen it, it's literally just like a guy filming something, and he kind of pans over, and he's like, "What the heck?" And then like kind of zooms in. All this stuff, I guess, is very like, "Oh, you just happen to be there," kind of thing. But I guess everybody just happens to be there at some point. It's eventually that's kind of how it gets how it happens. But he's just literally just like he'd be taking a nap next to a tree. He was just doing that, and
I mean, it was doing what Bigfoots do,
And it's not a full body; you can't see the whole thing. You can just kind of like see it, like it's torso up. And it looks like a big one, but I don't know anything about like analyzing footage or anything like that. But I don't know.
I mean, it's just fun. It's the middle of the afternoon. It's prime nap time. I mean, it makes total sense that it'd be taking a nap.
I know, man. The 3 o'clock slump comes for us all. Even Bigfoot.
Nice sunny day. Prepping for the weekend. Things got to get its rest in.
Yeah, if you guys hear a dog in the background, by the way, I am fostering a little doggy, and he hates to be alone. So luckily everyone's here, but every once in a while, if you leave the room, he gets real stressed. Which, by the way, he like ripped up my wall today. I was very upset about him. Oh no! I was like, "You're cute for a reason."
you can't be too mad. It's the cutest dog I've ever seen.
I know. He really is. She really is. Sorry, her name's Rose. She's part of the Vino crew. Yeah, so we'll see how that all unfolds with the cool book Bigfoot. It's always good to have new footage because that stuff comes so far in between. Stuff that looks kind of cool that you can go like, oh, that isn't like the one footage that I really really liked that's surfaced in the last couple of years is the one of the guy of the Bigfoot or whatever walking across in the middle of nowhere. That's like from the train, I'm talking about?
On the train, yeah.
Yeah, that one's my favorite one. It's so cool. It's literally just like from across like a valley, and there's like, why is that guy there? Whether it's a guy or a Bigfoot.
Whatever it is, they have no business being there.
Why are you all the way out there? Where are you going? Even a guy in a suit, like, that's just wild. I don't know. But there's people that like the shadow and whatever. I'm not that guy. I just go like, wow, that's cool. At the same time, the more compelling part of all these stories are always the story themselves. So that's where I'm at and everything. But yeah. So
to recap, I was gone last week, and you had Jill on last week, and that was fantastic. I was listening while I was on my way to the wedding.
I adore Jill.
and she
Jill
was so much fun.
She is my new witch friend. I was telling her this on our chat before. I was like, I wanted a witch friend, and she's my witch friend. And I love the idea. What's that?
Everybody needs a witch friend.
I know you need a witch friend. They like can do cool witch stuff, and like I don't know, like not in like a bad way, but just like in a awesome, just kind of like, hey, isn't this cool? And then she kind of gives you like, I don't know, a deeper meaning that you're kind of thinking about. Because I think that witches get a bad rap on like being this whole like curse, but really it's just like it's such good vibes. I don't know. I was on a witch talk, which form of TikTok where like it's all the witches, and like every time they like do cool stuff, I'm like, man, this is so fun. It's like the most fun I've ever had. Just like watching, and they're so like nice and caring, and like they just like lift you up. It's basically just I don't know. It's like putting like the way Christians put hands on people. It's that, but they do it with like I don't know. Whatever they do it with, it's just cool. And she talked about like spider magic and stuff, and I just thought that's I mean I think that like sex magic, black magic and all that stuff is just like really interesting to me. I don't know anything about it. Obviously like black magic's like weird and you shouldn't like mess with it and stuff, but I've heard some cool stuff with it. But so yeah, the Cryptid cocktail hour. So I'm gonna start with I don't know, this isn't a Cryptid, which you know starting off with a not a Cryptid is weird, but that's fine. So I'm gonna start off with the Alabama, and coming in from Alabama, weighing a whole 0.0 grams is Huggin' Molly. So this is a ghostly figure that exists in Abbeville, Alabama. They even have her on the actual like sign going to Abbeville, which I just think is the funniest thing because you're like, there's literally nothing else going in this town except for scary ghost lady. But she literally like, if you're out past curfew, will like grab you out of like the shadows and be like, so very Five Nights at Freddy's kind of jam. Totally terrifying. But yeah, so that
stuff's always so weird too because it's like is that stuff rooted in something that was true at one point, or is it just something somebody made up and the city just jumps on board and it just becomes like a little like niche tourist attraction kind of a thing? Or?
The thing that I found out is that back a long time ago, a lot of people who live in Abbeville are descendants of Irish settlers, so they came from Ireland. So a lot of that is like old folklore from Ireland. They just kind of go like, no, it's here, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. A lot of the stuff I found on this list, the more I dug, was psychosis. So it's just like maybe it's not real, maybe it's just psychosis. Like I'm all for the story, but like a lot of it's just like, oh, it's really just this. We're just kind of like we're anamorphizing, is that the right word? Just these crazy things, but like giving them like a name and stuff, and
just having a little fun with it.
Yeah, and it's also most of what Hugging Molly seems to be is the tale of like adultery and things that happen after dark and things like that. It's like it's just scary ghost story to tell you. But if people have their first hand account, like, hey, I was walking down the street, I'd be more than willing to hear their story out and like to believe them if they're like, no, you don't understand. He's like smoking a cigarette, just be like, oh, it was a dark night. I was out too late, coming home from the bar with old Jimmy. And old Jimmy said, don't go that way, that's where Molly is. And then Molly came out and screamed in my face. And it was so goddamn scary. Listen, I'm here to believe you.
If anybody has a friend named Jim and this has happened to them, give us a ring. We'll talk about it.
We're here to believe you. All right, and coming from Florida, down from the top or the bottom in the old Everglades, that's the Florida skunk ape. That's right, the cousin. I would say the hillbilly cousin of Bigfoot. Yep. The one that you maybe don't invite to dinner because he's got really questionable political views. So what I've heard about him is he's an angry Big Feet. Do people call them Big Feet? Is there when there's more than one of them? I think they should. That sounds funny. I'm gonna call them Big Feet. They live in the middle of Florida. Where their sightings are basically in the middle of Florida. Like I said, they're the hillbilly. Yeah, I think they're more of a swamp beast. I mean, the reason why they smell so bad, they live in the middle of swamp. I don't know if you know about swamps. They smell terrible.
Regular Bigfoot is known to not be so fresh smelling.
Yeah, and
and he doesn't have the word skunk in his name, you know.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
If normal Bigfoot stinks like that, and this one's actually called the skunk ape, like how bad does that thing smell?
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, he's doing his best, you know. He's down there and he's like, "Oh, you gonna tell me I can't walk to here? I'm a skunk ape."
Yeah, I gotta dodge all these alligators.
Yeah, I take him out with my bare hands.
Stuck in this damn swamp.
I actually like there was to be like a turf war between the skunk ape and the crocodiles. They're just
yeah, the skunk ape's on one of those airboats, you know, driving around trying to stay out of the water.
Oh, all I'm saying is the skunk ape probably said the N-word at least one time because it's real weird down there.
Yeah,
we don't want better.
We don't no part of that. Yeah.
You know, we're really putting a lot on him. You know, maybe he's a good guy and he doesn't have those kind of weird things. He's real chill. We're you know we're being sneakist here.
Yeah,
just because he's smelly doesn't mean
maybe no one's ever taught him proper Bigfoot hygiene. You know,
I know. It's just like, hey, here's throw him bar soap. Next time you see skunk ape, throw him a bottle or bar soap or a bottle if it's easier for him to carry around. Yeah. It's probably slippery over there in the Everglades. You know, freshen the boy up.
Well, that now right. You know, it's completely overrun with all those pythons and stuff down there. They have those big tournaments now where they have like python hunting season, like up here where we have like deer season and rabbit season. Like they have like snake season down there. It pull out those like 30-foot long snakes and stuff. Like that's insane.
You know, man. So the things that people pull, like the people who live down there that are super chill with the things that are in the water that just like jump into the water and grab it is wild to me. Like they're just like, yeah, this is fine. And they literally will jump into the water and then pull out what I think is a dinosaur. And they're just like, get it, Layla. And they're like, yeah. And then they pull it out. And then I don't know what they do with it after that. I'm assuming they sell it for something, but like, it's wild. Like I don't even really like. You definitely don't like dark water. I'm a little iffy on it. These people are just in it. I remember watching this one video of this guy was just going down the river in Florida, and he was just having a time with his kids. He like made his own boat, and they were just doing a whole thing. And he was like, "Oh, look over there. The kids are swimming in the water." And he's like, "Oh, there's some crocodiles over there." They were just swimming in the water. I'm just like, never in a million years. Would I just be like, oh yeah, it's swimming in the water? There's
would be anywhere near the water.
The killer. The whole time I'd be like, what? Touch my feet. But you know, that separates the men from the boys, I guess, down in Florida. But the things that I never know if like the videos of the crocodiles and stuff are like real or if they're just like totally fake. Because every time I see them, I'm just kind of like, is that the biggest? Like, are they that big? I have no idea. Like, do they get the size of cars down there? I don't think they do.
Yeah,
that seems.
Oh yeah, I've seen some. We went down like at Myrtle Beach. They have like that alligator farm or whatever, crocodiles and stuff, like a rescue, and they're just everywhere. And you walk on these bridges like over like the landscape where they're at, and I mean they have everything from like little baby ones. There's like some albino ones, but they have these ones that are just monstrous. I mean, they literally are dinosaurs, you know. And you know, they throw chickens and stuff in there and feed them. And I just remember we went there one time when the kids were little, and it was like the hottest day on planet Earth. It was probably 15 years ago at this point, but I just remember being there and was like, I'm the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my life. I'm standing on the face of the sun, and it's just nothing but like concrete. And these things are like on concrete, and then like some makeshift swampy little areas and stuff. But like where we're at, it's just like concrete and like wood decking. And no shade anywhere, and you're just baking in the middle of the afternoon, and the kids are like, "Let's go see the alligators," and we're like, "Okay," thinking, well, this it'll break up the monotony of a week-long trip. We won't have to go to the beach this afternoon or whatever.
Yeah,
and I was just praying for the beach, but yeah, those things could be enormous.
No, thank you. I remember
there's a cool video too of I've seen before where it's like at a golf course in Florida. And like this giant crocodile just like comes out and like walks across, the fairway, like to go over to like some body of water. And the guys are just standing there. And this thing, it looked like it was 15 feet long. And they were just like, okay, let it go do its thing. And then they teed up and kept playing. And I was just like, I would be gone halfway home. And like, I'm giving up the game of golf.
just they got a different
Yeah.
vibe down there, you know. Like I guess it's just like I remember I worked with we merged with this like Irish company, and this lady from Ireland came over, and she didn't even know what a squirrel was there, and she was like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's a squirrel. Like, you guys don't have squirrels?" Like I just had no concept that there were places in the world that didn't have squirrels because they're just so part of my habitat. You know, like I literally can walk outside at any point and point out a squirrel within like 5 seconds and be like, "There's one." You know, and just the fact that there's like places in the world that don't have them, I'm like, "Oh, okay. Like, what do you mean?" Like, I understand the desert doesn't have them, but like, you know, if you have
but
trees,
like, you know, we don't. If you walk outside and you see a squirrel, you never think that thing's going to kill me. You know?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, it's not. I don't know. It's still terrifying and weird. And I just they're in your pool, all that stuff. You know, but if you know, maybe that's what the skunk ape's doing out there. He's keeping the habitat down. He's like, you guys don't even understand what I'm doing. I'm helping you guys. I'm taking out so many crocodiles in the crocodile skunk ape war.
I'm down here fighting these snakes.
77. He's like an old brittle like Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Oh man, what are you drinking today, Brian?
I am drinking some vodka and diet.
Ooh,
nice little tip off of the weekend, and
you know what?
Get the evening started.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna move on to California. The old hiker people, known as the Dark Watchers. So this one is actually, I didn't even know about this one. This one's actually very terrifying, which is why I put it on the list. And obviously there's probably a million ways to kind of like talk away this thing as being a real thing, but at the end of the day, it was very, very interesting. So basically, like if you're going down a trail, it's people say they see these like tall figures, like dark figures, like in the distance that will be just like staring at them, and
like
the
shadows.
Yeah, and it's kind of rooted in Spanish culture, like a lot. Like what did I write down? There's like they're basically to keep you on the trail, and to just be like, you know, stay. They're kind of they disappear once you get there. So there's this whole thing of like them just like not being they're never like interacting. They're just kind of like there and off in the distance, which is the unattainable scary is always scarier than the scary that comes at you. I think like the like what was that? I can't explain it, you know, and the fact that they just kind of disappear in the dark. You know, there is a thing called what is it? Hold on, where did I write it down? There's a thing. There's like an illusion thing that happens. It's an atmospheric condition when the sun is at a particular angle. The subject's shadow can be cast in a cloud bank around them, crediting the illusion of a large shadowy humanoid figure. So it's a mountain specter, or a broken specter. Basically, it's a trick of the eye, which is a thing. Like, you know. Yeah, it's like when we saw that like mountain that was on Mars that like everybody was like, it's a face, and then we got like good HD cameras and we're like, no, it's just a mountain.
Yeah,
it's like humans' ability to see human creatures. Like it happens all the time actually with the Mars rover. You know, people are just like, oh, there's a person out there, and they're like, they would get closer and be like, no, that was you can literally see the shadow, like whatever. Listen, no one wants there to be life on Mars more than me. But
yeah, I was gonna say that's what they tell us, that it wasn't really a person.
Yeah. Did you ever see the like last transmission of like the Mars rover? By the way, it was like the saddest thing. It was like I forget what he said. Oh god, it was so sad. It was just like I'm leaving now. Something I don't know. It was literally like if you put music to it and just like had him do it in a voice, you would just cry every day. It was very like Wall-E. It was just kind of like, bye guys, I'll see you later, I'm dying now. And I'm just, like I watched this TikTok of this girl who was like explaining it to her mom, and she's like crying. She's like, and he said, and then her mom's like, wait, this is a robot that's at like the rover, like the vehicle on Mars? And she's like, it's just so sad.
It's like the end of Terminator 2 when he goes into the vat and he throws up the thumbs up, and you're just like, oh my gosh, you know, this is the end, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like
every time.
Yeah, you give them a name. It's the same reason why they give Alexa's names, so like we treat them better. You know, you just like you give it a name, and all of a sudden you're like, listen, you have my heart. I was actually just talking about Wild Robot and how if that was this totally silent movie, it would have broken me in a way that I wouldn't be able to come back from. Because like I find silent films when they just like project emotion like so much more interesting and cool and like sad than when they're like, hey, you know, like tell you what's happening. They kind of just show you what's happening. It's the reason why the shorts for Pixar are like so much better than like the full movies, because you're like, oh yeah, like I get that you explained everything to me, but like just when you can kind of like see their emotion and stuff. Seeing a robot, I don't know if you know what Wild Robot's about. I haven't seen it yet. I've only heard great things. It's basically just a robot that gets planted in the nature and then becomes more nature-like and then wants to save the forest. Essentially, I don't know how we got here. Oh, Mars rover, got it. Okay, what am I talking about? Dark Watchers. Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, the unknown ability of these things of just being like, oh, there's something over there and seeing it. Somebody said there's like hats. Like I said, a lot of it's based off of it's comes from Spanish origin. And it's just one of those things that just is part of their culture, brought over, just like the Irish and you know the Screaming Molly thing. I think everything really kind of has a focal point of some other culture, just like the Fae is like, you know, it comes from a different culture and we kind of absorb it over here. All those things. But yeah, so I thought it was cool and definitely scared the crap out of me. If I ever saw like something just kind of watching me that was about 9 feet tall, I might never hike again. Well, I mean, everything about I don't know if you guys are watching there's 30 days of Spooky Lakes on TikTok. I forget her name. She always starts with yes hello. Yes hello. And it's fantastic. She always talks about these spooky lakes and all the things. And if I had her name, I would give it to you, but I don't have it. But if you're on TikTok and you don't know about her, just Google yes hello and you'll be like, oh yeah, the creepy spooky lake lady. It's the best part of Halloween. She talks about just like crazy stuff like bones that are like in this lake for no reason whatsoever from like different times. Like they thought there was like a mass burial. Like, oh, like maybe something like a volcano or something happened, like a what's that place? The place Pompeii, you know, or they died at the same time. They thought it was that, but then they started like doing they started like carbon dating them, and they're like, oh, these are from like tons of times. Why are they all here? I mean, I haven't dug into it past the video, so like maybe there is an actual reason, but the best theory somebody put out was it's a dragon's nest. I was like, yes, dragon's nest. Dragon's nest. Yeah,
obviously
it's not.
Is it like a graveyard or something where there'd be people from different periods of time buried there? But dragon's nest is way cooler, so I'm gonna go with dragon's nest too.
That's way more metal. Yeah. Like, what are we doing here? Get out of here with your real facts. We're talking dragon's nest over here. Daenerys, mother of dragons, was there.
It's not a graveyard. It's a dragon's nest.
It's a dragon's nest. But yeah, it's really cool lake, and it's you can't like take a dip in. I don't know why you'd want to swim in a Bone Lake, but you know, Bone Lake is a good metal name though. Just saying. Okay, so coming in from Michigan, from the top.
Here we go.
We got the Michigan Dog Man. Oh yeah. So I actually learned some stuff about the Dog Man. I am how do I say this with the correct amount of enthusiasm? I am elated. I'm excited. I want someone to come on here and tell me all about the Dog Man because it's something that's so new to me. Like I'm unaware of it. First off, let me pet that dog. And second off, like
ain't no dog you've ever seen that you haven't pet before. So
I know I won't pet that dog. So let me pet that dog. Also, well, it's just so interesting, and I've seen like it's just like there's so many iterations of it, and the people I'm part of this Facebook group and they just talk about it because I've just been trying to figure out what it all is, and you know, maybe scam somebody and getting on here so I can actually talk to them about it. Scam, that's the wrong word, but like come on my show and talk about Dog Man because I don't know anything about it aside from like what I've heard the last like not this year but last year at the Monster Fest, and we were just like, oh, I was like, what are you talking? What is even the Dog Man? They're telling me all about it, and then it's just like it's one of those things like when you want a geo tracker, all you see is geo trackers. That was my car as a kid. It was the best car of all time. So
yeah, Small Town Monsters has a couple like Dogman movies that I've seen that they're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of go through like it's very like Indian culture or indigenous culture. They're not Indians, they're Native American. We still call them that. So I just think that there's like a shape-shifting level to them, and like, or at least what I've heard. And but I have heard that if they're there, the way you get rid of them is you clap your hands, which is not menacing at all.
Yeah. Usually that's what you do when you want the dog to come to you. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Well, apparently, yeah, no, that's actually what I was thinking when I found that. They're like, some say that you clap your hands. I was like, that's how I get dogs to come to me. Like, what are you talking about? Not how any of this works.
Are you sure this isn't like a ploy to dog man's put this out because it actually makes them come stronger at you, and it takes down your defense mechanisms, and you're just like, oh yeah, I just gotta clap, and while you're doing this, it's like coming right at you.
Yeah, the Jim Gaffigan joke. It's like if you see a bear lay still, it's like, who wrote this? The bears.
Yeah, exactly.
Lay down, cover yourself in soy sauce. Wrap yourself in.
The dog man conglomerate has put the word out.
Big dog man is coming for us all. So the first encounter of the Michigan dog man occurred in 1887 at Wexford County. Two lumberjacks saw a creature, and they were described as having a man's body and a dog's head. Which, listen, I don't know. I don't know I don't know do heads or tails to this, because people see some stuff, but I also like, it's just really, really cool. Like I've also heard, I read this book. It's called Monsters Among Us, about these two little kids. They were, which is a great book, by the way. It has little stories. And I've heard so many like dog-based ones that were in there. Specifically one where like these two people were like playing. They were throwing a ball back and forth. And she was like, we were kids. Like we were kids. And her mom was doing laundry at the laundromat. And we're like, can we go in the back and like play ball? Because we're just so bored. The mom was like, absolutely, get out of my hair. So they went to the back, and there was a guy that was in a doorway while they were playing that they noticed. And he kept being like, hey, come here. And they were like, well, absolutely not. Like, I've seen this movie. Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. And but he was just like, and they noticed him start getting angrier and angrier in the moment of like all that stuff. And then he eventually like just snapped, and he was just like, come here. And then his face started to turn into a dog, like in those moments. So like, if that happens, it's like, okay, what is that like, and she's, I think I always kind of say this with stories that at least that like resonate with me. It's like, I don't care if you don't believe me, this had happened. Like I obviously was a kid, and I have the lens of a kid, but that's not something that you just like misinterpret. When you see somebody's face turn into a dog, you don't go like,
I mean, I'm thinking straight Teen Wolf right now is what I'm picturing in my mind.
Michael J. Fox.
And he was going through puberty. I mean, that movie's fantastic, by the way.
Oh, 10 out of 10. Obviously, the dog in the doorway was breakdancing on top of the van, and he won the high school football game,
as any dog man would do.
I know.
It was basketball. It was a basketball game though, not football.
Oh yeah, did I say football?
You said, okay. I think you said football.
I thought it was, anyway. Every day I look at my dogs in disappointment. They haven't won the big game. I'm like, what are you guys doing? It's weird that you would need dog powers to win a basketball game. Nothing about a dog like accelerates your goodness in basketball. In fact, my dogs in fact are very bad at basketball. Every time I throw the ball at them, it just hits them in the face, and I have to apologize for half an hour.
They can't dribble or anything,
No. Do you know dogs can't feel empathy? Like they don't understand empathy, not feel empathy. They don't understand empathy. So like if you step on their tail, they just assume you did it on purpose, no matter how long you apologize.
Like,
even if you give
he's
them,
just a jerk.
I know
he doesn't
why
feel
is
bad.
such a jerk today. And I was like, oh my God. Like, but I still doesn't matter to me. I'm still gonna apologize to that dog for like a half an hour. Like, I'm so sorry that I hit you in the nose while I was walking and didn't know you were directly behind me. Baby, don't follow me so close. My one dog is like a total ghost or a shadow. He's like, where are you going, Dad? I'm like, I'm just going to the bathroom. I love you. Although since we got that like bed in the basement, that's pretty much where he's at. He doesn't really sit in my little beanbag anymore. He's just like, Dad, there's an entire bed over here. I'm going to sleep on that. Okay. So this one coming up from Minnesota. So everybody get your
Minnesota.
What are they called? I forget what they're called. The little donut holes. Everyone get over to Tim Hortons down in Minnesota. We got the Wendigo coming in with a average height of probably 17 feet. Horn. So every detail I had about that I learned about the Wendigo was the vaguest thing. It was just he either has horns or he has ears or he has nothing or he's just a spirit. I couldn't find.
But it's 17 feet tall.
Yeah, well, I forget what they said he was. He's 9 feet or something like that. But,
like that's pretty tall. That's pretty scary.
Either way, you're in the Minnesota like back area. Everybody I've met who talks about the Wendigo though is never messes around. They're just like, listen, that one's not the one that you mess with. That's the one that'll ruin your life. I'm just like, oh, okay.
I'm definitely not going to say anything bad about it.
Yeah, we're Wendigo's the prettiest, the scariest. He's so good. He's his if not he has horns. They're the best horns I've ever seen.
Very handsome gentleman.
The handsomest gentleman.
Tip of the hat to you, sir.
Definitely. You know what?
We'll be on our way now.
Yeah. Oh, nice. It's just only complimentary. If we have a van.
Shoes. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get a wrap that on the side of our car that says like I love Wendigo when we drive through Minnesota, and it'll be like, oh, these guys really #1 fan. So a lot of it was a cautionary tale of like greed and gluttony is kind of how it seems. So like that in of itself is like a what's the word? When you have like you're trying to teach a lesson to people, it's like eat your don't be greedy, don't take too much, don't take more than you need to because the Wendigo will get you. And then I think it just kind of builds from there. And so it's a spirit that possesses you, and it kind of just like takes over in a way of like your body and makes you evil. So like people saying they're like possessed by the Wendigo and stuff, and I find it very metal. So plus it's like it may be like the coolest name. I think of all the cryptids, it has the best name.
Well, it's definitely better than skunk ape.
It's definitely better than skunk ape. It's better than grass man. It's better than anyone that's like blank plus man. No offense, Mothman, you're #1, but your name sucks. Although you do look like a moth, so I can't help it. I guess it's not his fault. But yeah, the Wendigo sounds really cool if you like whisper it, like when. Like if I heard that at all, I would never eat a cheese curd in my life. Like I'm out of here. Can't go anymore. So yeah, it's just like this kind of scary. I mean, what is it? I was talking to Tanya, I think like 2 years ago at Monster Fest, and she was saying like the Wendigo is really big in like around where she lives, and was it? I feel like it'd be more that what's her name said it because she's from Canada. Caster. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, somebody said that they don't take it. They're like it's scary as crap, and you don't want to come up on it. But yeah, it's like a spirit that just kind of ingests you, and it's either a spirit or it's a physical thing. But I think it's more just a feeling. It's just like he's here, which is
why I hope it's not in Florida. They already got enough stuff they got to worry about. They don't need another.
Hurricanes and skunk apes and fucking everything. And alligators. Yeah, this is the biggest snake I've ever seen in my life. I got crocodile hunting season. They don't need anything else.
On top of all that, we also have Wendigos. Like it's too much.
Come on.
Too much. Where does it end?
They're banning all our books. I don't even know how to do anything. I can't leave the state because I'm uneducated. No offense to our Florida listeners. Doing your best down there. You're fighting for your life. You got skunk apes and giant crocodiles and hurricanes every 9 seconds. Oh, so scary. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to go live in Florida so bad because obviously Disney World, and I'm a child. And I was just like, it would be awesome to live there. That's why I'm retiring. And then you get older and you're like, it's so hot. It's so hot down there. And you're like, never, ever. Because you just like think palm trees are the coolest things in the world. And you realize no.
But I've been to Florida a couple times and it's always treated me good. Good times.
Yeah. Well, you went for like cruises, right?
Well, some cruises. We were down at Miami Beach. This year. That was fantastic. I'll go back there in a second. That was so much fun.
It does. Everything you told about.
And it's like being like a whole different country, basically.
Yeah.
Because like you leave like basically like Miami proper, you go over the bridge, you end up like in, you know, South Beach and Miami Beach, and it's like you're not even in like the metropolis of Miami anymore. You're like in this old city. Like it was so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been there, you know, in and out for cruises before, but you know, flown in and out of Fort Lauderdale, Miami. Was down in the Orlando area one time just to hang out. And that was cool too.
Oh,
Panama City Beach for spring break '95. That was fun.
You were just like, man, I'm basically David Lee Roth down here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, coming in from West Virginia with with a monument with the cheekiest of cheeks, we got the Mothman.
Oh yeah,
So, I
classic.
love the Mothman. He's I want to. My wife's been to actual Point Pleasant before. I've never have. That's like the one I want to go to the Mothman festival more than anything. It looks so cool.
And which was like, just like what? It was like a week or two ago. Like, you just
because Snuffy asked if we were going, and I was like, oh, I wish, but like I think I just had gotten home from vacation. I was like, I literally just don't have any money to go down there. That's just 2 vacations in a row is just like draining.
Next year, that's what we're doing. We're going.
Yeah, it's in the books because it looks. He just said it was a big party, and that's all I want. I just want to hang out and tell weird stories, and you know, first off, I want to see that statue. I want to just be part of it and have a time. But yeah, it looks really cool. But you know, everyone kind of knows the basic story. You know, there's a Mothman sighting, and then all of a sudden something bad happens. So I've heard conflicting stories of like if it's an actual like continuing thing or if it's just relegated to like that one time. I think it is kind of like a constant thing, but as far as finding like anything outside of Point Pleasant, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it, you know, it depends on who you talk to, but you know, some people said that it happened for a bit, you know, down there, then it kind of like, you know, went away. Some people are like, oh, it's still around, but it seemed to happen like in the late 60s when the bridge collapsed and the people died and that whole thing. That was like the main time, but there was other settings and stuff. But I saw not too long ago, I think in Chicago area, there's been like another Mothman sightings from, I think it was like around like 2020, like late, like 2018, 1920.
I remember that.
Maybe I'd have to look, but I remember there's people describing almost the same type of thing going on.
Yeah.
And in like the Chicago area, you know, and I've been to Chicago a ton of times when my brother lived there, and it's just, you see a lot of weird stuff in Chicago, but
yeah,
I've never seen Mothman before.
I would say with the Mothman specifically, like the thing that will always keep it like top A1 for Point Pleasant is the fact that like it wasn't in the zeitgeist yet. Like it wasn't an idea that anyone had. Everyone was just like, I saw something, and they would describe it, and it was the same thing. Whereas now people are kind of aware with like people dress up as Mothman for like, you know, Halloween and stuff. So it's just like, since it's kind of in the zeitgeist, you can say like, oh, it was Mothman versus like, it was just a black figure and its eyes were like on its chest as opposed to a head situation. And just kind of describing what would essentially be how we know him. But nobody having any knowledge of what that was until like that point. I think will always make it more interesting to that. Plus, you know, it has the, you know, 1960s bridge collapse and all that happened like, you know, right afterward. It just kind of gives it that like, you can pinpoint why he was there versus, but also like there were so many other things that were happening at that time. Like it wasn't even just, we only know the Mothman thing, but there was like UFO sightings and like paranormal stuff that was happening at the same time. Like the story of it is way more oniony of like cool stories. It's just kind of like, if you want to, you know, essentially make a movie about it, you just kind of focus on the one thing. You can't, you know, there's a theory that people can only handle so much of your BS before they clock out.
Too much,
yeah. So like, you can't be like, oh, I believe in, you know, Bigfoot and, you know, Mothman. And I think that UFOs are real. People are just like, all right. And you're done. Yeah. That goes for anything, by the way. You can only say you're into cars. You can't also say you really like Limp Bizkit's first album and then talk about it at length. And then, you know,
you can't be into everything, you know, it's like, you got pick two things that you're good at or whatever. Beyond that,
pick a lane.
It's the law of diminishing returns. You know, you can't be good at everything. I just Googled real quick Mothman Chicago, and a couple stories have come up where the sighting was actually at O'Hare Airport. So we'll have to dig in a little deeper to that one. Read the article. But yeah, so I mean, it's not like it's out in the middle of the woods somewhere. Like people are describing this at the airport. I mean, that airport is enormous.
Yeah,
and there's people everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
I know there's been like UFO sightings there too that I've seen before on different things.
At O'Hara Airport?
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. I want to be part of that. Just want to, like, we have that one sighting, but like obviously we kind of, you guys just debunked it that night, but like, okay, I don't remember if we told the story already. I'm sure we did on episode 1, but let's just follow it on its natural path. Me and Brian were in a pool in North Carolina. It was like you, your son, and my wife was she there? Oh no, it was your wife. Your wife was there. Your wife
was there too, because she's the first one that noticed it, I think.
You're right. It was her. Okay.
Yeah.
So we all saw it. What I remember, what you guys remember.
This would have been 2018, 19. Was it that long ago?
So we're in North Carolina. We're in the pool. It's late, but like we're not drunk because we're professionals. We've done this before. So we're sitting in the pool, just kind of talking, and all of a sudden my wife's like, "What is that?" We look up. We see what I see is what looks like a bus, like kind of blacking out the sky. So it's like that level of dark. And it's kind of like blacking out the sky, so you can kind of see it, and it just kind of disappears into the ocean. But the house was kind of blocking the ocean, so we couldn't see it keep going.
And we're out in like the Outer Banks, so we're already like way offshore, way out in the middle of nowhere.
So me and Brian just look at each other like, "Did we just see a UFO?"
I think we just had a sighting, yeah. And at least my wife, who doesn't believe in any of this stuff, was just like, "Oh my god, I think we just saw like a UFO. Like that's insane." Yep. And I was like, "Finally."
We got one. But then, Brian had to.
Turns out this guy named Elon Musk, has this thing called the Starlink satellites. And once we saw pictures of it, we're like, yeah, that's what we saw.
But I maybe this is my confirmation bias or whatever, but I still stand on the ground that what I saw wasn't what you guys saw. And I had a different experience or a different view, because what I didn't see, like the Starlink like video, like you're like, this is it. I'm like, that's not what I saw. Like I saw it from a different angle, I think. And then I don't know, but also like I understand that maybe I just wanted it. I want it too bad.
Yeah, you wanted it so bad.
I want it so bad.
And I wanted it too. I really did. But I was like, that's what I saw.
Just hate.
I didn't know that Starlink was a thing at the time.
I wish I was just one of those kooks who could just like believe everything I saw and just be like, no, I freaking saw it. But like my practicality goes like, since there's doubt, I go like, but I still bring it up as a story. And then like, if no one's there to fact check me, I just do it as true.
Yeah. I mean, we were so close. We were so close.
I always say that, like, my wife and you guys always say it was Starlink, but then I always kind of say like, that's not how I saw it. I saw it like it looked like a bus. Like I could see lights on the side and the whole thing, but like, I don't know, whatever, but it's fine. It's fine. Maybe I saw it. Maybe I didn't. All right. So coming in from Arizona, one thing, all things, everything's the Skinwalker from Skinwalker Ranch, Navajo legend, of course. I adore the Skinwalker, and maybe I shouldn't say that because Skinwalker is scary and not something you actually want to adore, because it doesn't adore you, nor does it care about you. But it is everything that I love. It is mystery. It is dimensional
shape-shifting
shapeshifters. It's UFOs.
Part dogman, part UFO. I mean, it could be anything,
I know it is whatever you want it to be. And also just the stories are so silly. Like the one about the cows that like disappeared and then they reappeared like inside of an RV that like it shouldn't have been. I mean, any story with the cows, you got me. I just thought it's such a silly story. Not a silly story, but like it's so interesting in like so many ways. I always kind of say my top dog is always Skinwalker. And everybody else is kind of just like second place to me, just because I respect Indian culture in this way that like I understand that like what they say is kind of for it's like as far as American folklore goes, like they're the ones who know the real deal, and they will say like, oh yeah, like because they're not trying to sell you a trinket with the skinwalker on it. In fact, it is the opposite.
And
of
this
that.
isn't
Like,
and this isn't new for them. They weren't certainly trying to sell skinwalker trinkets 300 years ago.
No, because I don't know if you know this, we have done terrible things to the Native American culture in America, and if anything, they should capitalize on certain things. That they've never done that. In fact, it is very sacred to them. It is basically like it's a curse to like sick that thing on other people. So they just don't talk about it.
They definitely don't prefer to talk about it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like, just the things that happen on that ranch are just so crazy and weird and defy logic, and just they're everything. And I'm just like, if there's no mystery in the world, we still have that. It's just like you know how this thing is like. I think there's like, it doesn't matter if 20 people tell you a story and you find out it's not true. You know, like you find out that 80% of it isn't true. There's still like 20% of that story that's like true though. Like, so we're you know, it's like, I remember hearing a story about snakes. It's like the way snakes move, they can account for like 99.2% of the movement forward, but they can't document the last like 0.8% of like how that movement happens. And this one girl said that she thinks it's like propelled forward by fear. Like people's actual fear of snakes is like they get their
the snake's like, I'm
that.
ready to go, and then the fear comes, they're like, we're off.
Like psychic damage. Oh my god, it's just like, that's so funny. But yes, I think that, you know, all the mysteries in the world, it's like you can kind of like, you can show somebody a picture of Bigfoot and they could be like, that's a guy in a suit. It's like, yeah, okay, I understand why you say that, because I look at it like when I was a kid and I was like, yeah, that's probably a guy in a suit. You find out more and you kind of build from there. You go like, oh, well, I didn't know that it was that hard to make a freaking fursuit, you know, at that in 19 whatever year that was.
69.
Yeah, and then you find it, you know, you hear about just any sighting and you go like, well, that was, you know, maybe people weren't thinking right. Like, this is just a place that people have documented, people have put money into, like real money, and been like, what is this place? And then felt things that like they've felt things they've never felt, seen things they've never seen. You know, it's people who aren't even into it, like the people that originally lived there, documented these things that were just like so crazy and weird and fun, and you know, maybe not fun for them, fun for me to talk about,
for us, yeah.
for me to get excited about and be like, what are you talking about? What do you mean that like there was a portal that opened up and a tall long man walked out of it and then just was like there? You know, a guy in a spacesuit appeared and like out of nowhere, and then when the guy like came up close to him, he just it was an RV that like showed up on the property. And when the RV was on the property, the guy was just like, hey, you can't park in this. So he walked towards it. And when he got closer, the RV then portaled away from him. And then he was like, okay. And he went closer and then it just disappeared. So like stuff like that. It's just like, oh, what do you mean? Like, you know, because these people aren't there to tell you weird stories. Again, they're not trying to sell you a trinket. He's just trying to raise his, like, you know, his cattle. And he had a zero death situation. He's like, I don't lose cattle, like I don't do that. And then he lost, I can't forget the percentage, but a good percentage of his cattle. And he's like, I literally haven't lost any cattle my entire career as, you know, or whatever, as a
rancher.
And he's like, you're ruining my track record, paranormal people. But yeah, I just
like, I'm not gonna have 5 stars anymore, you know.
Yeah, you're ruining my Yelp review.
Yeah, Yelp's all over me about this.
Wood Ranch again.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, like, I remember there's a story about a guy who was like a shaman, kind of like, hey, can I meditate in your land? And then the guy was like, yeah, go ahead, you know, like that's fine, you know, because he's a rancher, so like he probably is just like this guy. And he comes there and he's like, I just have a feeling about your land. And he's staring at like the outcrop of like all these trees, and he's just hands out like, oh, you know, like breathing it in. And the guy sees this like black thing like undulating through the trees, and he's like, and he's like, but I'm looking at the guy, and the guy doesn't see it. He's just doing his meditation thing.
Mhm.
He's like, he's looking out, but he can't see the thing that I'm seeing. And he's like, all of a sudden I see it kind of creep up to him. And he's like, I'm gonna kind of let this play out. And he lets it play out, and then the thing just goes like in his face, and the guy's just like, what was that? Like he didn't see any of it, but the farmer had seen it. So I don't know, stories like that. Just, they give me so much joy of just like what is out there, like what else don't we know? That's just stuff that we can see, you know, like and like no, or not no, but like you know, just document in a way that's like okay, like we maybe this world is like you know 6 pages past. Maybe we haven't gotten to this chapter yet. Like we're kind of reading through and like oh it's this, and then we find a little bit more, you know. I don't know. I just think it's so much fun.
I mean, I'm a firm believer, and there's a lot more going on, you know, in this world than we're aware of. And apparently, it's all scary. None of it's super sweet. It's all stuff that scares the piss out of you.
Why is it all so scary?
It's all bad. Only the good, you know, and half of what we see, you know, in our daily lives, only maybe not even half of it's good. You know, a lot of it's scary here as it is.
Yeah. It's never like this pond in Portland produces custard that's edible and delicious.
Yeah, it's never like this thing, you know, this other dimension that's you know the parallel dimension next to ours is full of you know the candy canes and sugar. No, it's full of the scariest monsters you've ever seen in your life. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
This keeps you up at night. You have nightmares, you know.
This tree is called the blood gourd, and every Friday it bleeds out entirely. You're like, what?
Yeah, can't we just have like a chocolate tree? Like, what is going on? You know,
what's happening? Why is nothing just sweet and delicious?
Yeah,
can we just have some? This is why we can't have nice things. You know, we don't deserve it. What it came down to. We're gonna find out when we die. You know, we're gonna get to whatever that afterlife is, and they're gonna be like, you guys messed up. Like we were gonna give you chocolate trees, but we gave them to you once, and it went badly. And you ate. You guys ate all of them, and then there was none left for anybody. Yeah. Even though they were supposed to regrow, you guys took the seed, and you just ruined it. So we gave you regular trees, and you cut all those down, and then
so now you get a skinwalker.
This next time it's all desert. The next it's all desert, and you guys have to deal with it because you deserve that. I'm like, you know what? I get it. We do deserve it. We did terrible things.
Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot truth. Yeah, it's definitely stranger than fiction. That's for sure.
All right, and rounding out the list, we got a real stupid one.
All right.
Stupid to them. It's coming in from Kentucky, the place of bourbon and whiskey. Oh, I don't know. It's whiskey's the other place. Bourbon, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Bourbon
tastes exactly the same. Don't at me. The Pope Lick Monster. Oh yeah, you got it. Half man, half goat.
Half man, half bourbon. Is that what it is?
Oh, I mean, listen. I bet the people that were drinking it or that saw the thing were probably half man, half bourbon.
Yeah. Although you and I about a month ago down in Kentucky were half man, half bourbon.
That's right. I mean, listen. There's nothing else going on in Kentucky besides being half man, half bourbon. No offense to Kentucky. I'm sure you're a beautiful state, but we got very
on that
drunk
particular weekend. That was all that was going on.
Just lots of sitting in the pool and drinking and making maybe the best wings I've ever eaten. And I made them myself. Best wing. You know, sometimes you got to make good wings and drink drinks. It's just, and maybe undercook the hamburgers way too much because I was drinking all day and I didn't realize that I was the one who had to make the hamburgers if I wanted to eat. I was like, is anyone going to make these? I guess I'll make them because and then I did not test them before I served them. And everyone was like, oh, these aren't done. I was like, oh, so sorry. Not even talking like regular, not. It was like aggressively.
You have to cook them for longer than 10 seconds.
I got the outside now, but I was drinking all day. This is not my fault. Like I at no point did I think I was going to be the one who had to like. Cook these things.
I mean, anyway. I'm definitely medium well hamburger guy. I mean, there were some rare hamburger guys there, and those guys were just like, "What the hell is this? Is this even been on the grill
hamburger guy?" Yeah. Oh, there's a guy in the chat. Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot. We're so sorry.
Yeah, Maker's Mark's fantastic. Yeah.
Maker's Mark is a delicious bourbon. I had.
I was there on the bourbon tour once.
What was it? New Riff and it was delicious. I got it at the what do they call it? What was that place we went to? The store that was the Walmart of alcohol. The party zone.
Party zone or something like that.
This was like a mecca of alcohol. We walk in, and I'm just standing there, and it's like this delicious. It was like the Willy Wonka. It was like, you come with me and you'll see the world of imagination. And I was just like, oh my god. And I was just like, but I have nowhere to where to go. I don't know where anything is. And the guy was just like, you need some help? And I was like, absolutely. Where's the bourbon? And then he directs me to the bourbon. I get to the bourbon and I go,
well, he was like, good. He's like, the bourbon. Oh yeah, that's like aisle 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh yeah.
Like, I walked 6 miles over to the bourbon, and then I realized that like there's two. I only drink Jameson. Like I'm just like I just drink Jameson and other types of Jameson. Jameson Orange is the best Jameson that's ever existed.
And that's not even bourbon.
Enough. I know it's not even bourbon. Yeah, I don't even think I got bourbon. I did get bourbon. I got New Wrist bourbon, which I was like, what was the name of that place that was like around here? And then I go out into the parking lot. It's literally in the parking lot. It's the biggest building. I had entirely missed it. I was like, oh, it's right there. New Riff. Fantastic whiskey or bourbon. I don't remember what I got. Again, I have no taste for it. I just started liking bourbon like 4 years ago. I thought that people were lying when they say they liked it. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, sure, you like whiskey. Like, just kind of like puffing their chest. Like, this tastes good. And it was like, it tastes like gasoline. Stop. Yeah. And then like one day on my 40th birthday, my brother-in-law got me a thing of bourbon. And I was like, oh, like, I feel like I should do this justice to just drink it as it is, because this is like an expensive bottle of bourbon or whiskey, whatever. So I drank it, and I was like, and it was like one of those like turning point moments where I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, there's definitely, it's an acquired taste, some of the stuff, and it's just like, and I'm not like a big bourbon guy anyway, but you just like some like IPAs, some of them it's like, okay, this only tastes, like a juicy IPA or something. It's not that, like my wife calls it tastes like pine cones or like a Christmas tree. And then you get your double IPAs and it's just like, holy crap, like this is too much. But they're both, they're still IPAs. Bourbon's the same way. It's like some of it's like, oh yeah, this is really good. And then other bourbons you're like, whoa, it's too much. It's straight gasoline,
Yeah. I mean, I'm very experimental, like with most of my drinks, and as long as it doesn't taste like dirt, I'm good. But like I finally the best drink of all time is it's never not gonna be Jameson ginger ale for me. It's absolutely the best. 10 out of 10. No notes. It's my favorite. I just started experimenting with just drinking it straight. It's great. Well, the last 4 years, and then now I'm doing like soda water, just cut it a little bit because I really like soda water. Just pretty much, what I'm drinking right now. But it's fantastic. I love it. Yeah. So all that to say, the Poplick monster.
So say it again. We totally cut off what it was.
Oh, it's the Poplick monster. Basically, it's monster. This half man, half goat creature, and it lures people to this like train bridge essentially, and like a couple of people have died. By like a lot of people more have died because of the actual like just investigating the spot. I think more.
It lures you to the bridge, then you get stuck on the bridge or get hit by a train. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, like these two like researchers that basically said they saw it, and then all of a sudden it was like too late. They were like, "Oh wow!" And all of a sudden there was a train coming, and there was no time to like get off the bridge because it drops off. It's like it's a bridge, So and it's just the ground below it. It's not like a river they can jump into. It's just you hit the ground. So yeah, it's like a whole thing. But yeah, so like that's I chose them because I think it's the funniest name. I mean, I know that's the place, the name Poplick Creek, but it's man of goat, man. I mean, you can't go wrong there.
Is it a man? Is it a goat? Who knows?
It's Poplick monster. How can you be scared of a? Listen, if your name is Poplick, maybe don't name it after that. It doesn't have to be. You call it the train bridge goat, and I think it
could be goat man. Just fine. Like dog man, It's the goat man.
Yeah, you just be an extension. I think, is the goat man a thing? Goat man a thing? I may know.
Oh, goat man could be a whole other thing we're unaware of at this point. And and I'm sorry, I apologize to goat man if I I lumped you in with
I'd like to give my apologies to a couple people. Wendigo, if we said anything bad about you,
especially
we love
the Wendigo.
Yeah. We love you, and you look great. And those new shoes you got, your hair looks great. You're fantastic, and I love you. Skinwalker, again, same thing. But can I pet a dog? Oh God. Yeah. I love all these. This has been great. This has been my favorite episode.
The Cryptid cocktail hour. Who knew? You know.
I know. Just
a nice little.
Yeah. I just finished work. I get on talking cryptids. I did very minor research on all this. Was just like, what's this about? No way. And then again, a lot of it was just like figuring out really like the science of the way people worked, because like a lot of it was like, oh, the reason why they thought this was probably because of this, and I'm like, oh, no way, because I like to hear about that kind of stuff too. Like, sure, I know you saw what you saw, so like, why do you think that they saw that? And then from learning about shadows and stuff, space is fun. Stay curious, guys. Stay curious. It's always the best way to. Can't handle it all. But yeah, so well, if we got nothing else to show up, I'd like to thank everyone for listening to us talk about the most random stuff.
I think the Cryptid cocktail hour should be like kind of a regular thing where we just talk about cryptids that we're completely unaware of and give them personalities and I have make up what we think that they do.
Yeah, oh no, I didn't really. We were gonna do a two truths and a lie, but I 100% forgot to do that.
We'll save that for next time.
Yeah, well, actually, I can probably make one up. Hold on. All right, you ready for it?
So I have to guess the fake cryptid,
the fake one. The Vermont Pigman, the Wisconsin Hodang, and the oh wait, hold on. Wait, no, not that one. The Minnesota Witch Chow.
What was the first one?
The Vermont Pigman.
I'm gonna say that's real.
Correct.
So what was the second one?
I don't remember.
That's the fake one.
Oh, yeah, no, it was a Hodang. It's not the second one. It's the Hodang. I was just
the Hodang's not the
Hodang's the real one.
Oh my gosh, the Hodang.
The Hodang. Okay, wait. I think I say Wendigo. Okay, I don't want to make the Wendigo mad, but Hodang may be the better one. That's the best name. First off,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin Hodang.
So I mean, Wisconsin's right there next to Minnesota. I mean, the Wendigo goes out on a Friday night after Cryptid cocktail hour, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go pick up the Hodang. We're gonna go out on the town."
I think we got a buddy comedy brewing in us right now.
I think so. Yeah. This sounds fantastic.
The Hodang is played by Will Ferrell. And Jack Black's the Wendigo, and then they go
John
out
C.
on
Reilly.
the town.
It's got to be,
Oh yeah, John C. Reilly. It's got to be John C. Reilly. It's just Step Brothers 2, but they're Wendigo and Hodangs. Yes. Oh yeah,
this is
I
good.
can see it now. This is gonna make $1 billion at the box office, guys. Somebody with money, figure it out. I'll write the script if you need to. Written by Clint Winter. Make it happen.
It's under my pseudonym.
Yeah, my pseudonym. I probably shouldn't say that with no context. I'll tell you one day, guys. Yeah. So thanks for joining us for Cocktail Hour. I hope you also had yourself a wink and water. Again, I like to reiterate, if you have any cool stories you want to come drop it on the podcast, just have a good time. It's Friday or whatever day you're listening to it. For us, we go live every Friday at 5. Come on down. We'll have some fun. We'll just talk about the things that we love. I'd love to talk to you about maybe if you saw something in the woods that you can't explain and you just want to talk about it, or if you just want to talk about weird stuff just like this, if you just want to talk about it, we are absolutely here for you. I am only here to yes and your stories. I am only here to yes and your excitement. I am equally as excited about all these things. There's a reason why we love going to Monster Fest and we love going to the Salt Fork Bigfoot Conference, because this stuff is exciting. It's cool. It's not the mundane stuff you deal with every day. It's the it's not washing the dishes. It's the mystery of the world. It's the joy that you get to have as a kid that gets to invigorate your life again and be exciting again. You go, what do you mean you saw something like, next to the old hills down the street? That's crazy. What do you mean you heard a weird noise you can't explain? Like, that's what we're here for. That's what we're excited about. That's the stew. That's the soup. We're in the kitchen here. We're talking monsters. We're talking fun stuff. So yeah, shoot me an email. I got monstersouppodcast@gmail.com. If you have a cool story, if you just want to hang, absolutely, we'll have you on. We have the Monster Soup Podcast Facebook page, which I am attempting to make a page that people can post on, but I don't like Facebook. So I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how to do that. Because I don't feel like I'm old, but when I went there, I was like, I think I may be older than I know. Maybe we'll start like a TikTok or something, and then I'll be able to understand that. Because that's my bag. But yeah, so I appreciate it, and you guys are awesome. And I don't know. That's all I have to say. So keep your cryptids hot and keep your soup hotter. All right.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.